Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, my daily bulletin show where I bring to you recruitment owners, leaders, advisors, suppliers to the global industry who are prepared to give up some of their time and share expertise to help us all get through COVID-19 and the future landscape together. Today, I'm excited to be joined again by David Higgins. David was on the show earlier this year, was in March the 31st, so right at the beginning of the lockdown and the pandemic, shared some unbelievable insights into what went on through his own experience in 2008 and also 9/11. And as I know I've received a lot of positive feedback from David's interview. I thought it'd be good to get him back on and find out what's changed and how he's been coping and what advice he's now giving to some of his clients that you guys could all learn from. Before I do, I just want to mention our sponsor, which is Rise Recruitment Ventures. Rise are a recruitment investment business backed by John Coxon and Alex Elliott, two guys who built and sold a business called Liquid Personnel over 10 years and sold it in 2016 for over 20 million. Their new business is an investment business that's looking for the newest businesses, recruitment business on the market, as well as the early stage organizations that want to grow and maybe are not growing fast enough. They're offering capital, expertise, and knowledge to effectively allow you to do what they did, scale and exit. If you're interested in finding out how they could help you, get on their website, www.riserv.co.uk. David, welcome to the RAG Report.
Pleasure. Good to see you again.
It is. We had a quick chat off air and we're both looking a little bit more sun-kissed than we were in end of March. You've had a lovely time at the beach, it sounds like, for the last couple of months.
Well, I'm not Zooming. Try and get out as much as I can. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, time out. Been for runs. Been using the bike. So yeah, I'm feeling fitter and leaner.
That's what it's all about. I'm feeling the same. I think I mentioned to you before. The day before we recorded last time was the day I started my 75-day challenge, and I'm on, I don't even know, day 65 or something. I finished on the Saturday the 13th of June, and I'm running to Trafalgar Square on that day to finish it off. So I've got a 12-mile run, and then hopefully I can eat enough food that'll cover all the calories I've missed in the last 75 days. Can't wait. But you, lots has changed, David. Lots has changed. What in true RAG Report style, what's happened in your life, or what's changed in your life over the last couple of months that you can share with us?
From a client perspective or from a personal perspective?
Any perspective, yeah. Personal. Start with personal.
On the personal side, yeah, childcare without a nanny for 2-3-year-olds is challenging, and I thought my parenting skills were good, but they're in need of development.
Right.
And I take my hat off to parents, mothers in particular, who are going through the same challenging process, and even actually with older kids as well, having them at home without any support is 24/7, and there's no respite.
Oh.
Probably one of the reasons I'm getting fit, because the only time I get any silence and rest is when I go for a run.
I bet, yeah, it gives you that mental break to go and focus on yourself.
Client side, I think, most people have remained upbeat. I think the furlough system has taken the pressure off recruiters for the short term. Trading seems to be okay, although perm's still a challenge with many firms. Everyone's trying to sort of look to the future and work out what it's going to look like, and that's a difficult forecasting trick. So the conversations I'm having are all around, do we bring back furloughed staff? If so, when? When will the market recover? Will it recover? How will it recover? Those are pretty big questions that are difficult to answer.
Before we get into now, then, what's gone on over the last 2 months? Do you think that the last 2 months has played out how you expected, effectively, when we spoke at the end of March?
I think largely yes, except the market's held up better. I think trading has continued on the contract side to be robust. Contractor numbers seem to be stable, and clients are still buying. Not all clients, but everyone seems to have an element of confidence in that. I think permanent still remains a challenge. I had an interesting conversation recently with a digital recruiter that's saying actually their permanent forecasts are looking better than they expected. I think if they've all managed their expectations of the next 3 to 6 months are going to be like that, I'm going to budget for that, then providing that budget wasn't over optimistic and was sensible, then people should be in a space where they're feeling confident about business going forward.
Yeah. What do you think when it comes to the perm side of the business? What have you seen clients doing that is working well? Is there anything there specific, any tactics they're deploying that are keeping the lights on the perm side?
I mean, it's basically working closer and getting close to your existing strong relationships and seeing what you can do in whatever guise to help them with their talent acquisition. I think new clients taking on perm roles, that's the real challenge. And I haven't seen anyone, although there will be people, I haven't seen huge degrees of successes. Most people are saying we're going back to our active current clients, our recent clients, and some of our historical clients, and trying to re-engage them with broader, bigger conversations. And that's having traction. Although
100%.
the key challenge now is that clients may want to be, or companies may want to be taking on their staff, but how do they get their own office space COVID aligned, COVID compliant? Because the last thing they want to be doing is creating liability for themselves, and that's delaying their decision-making processes around permanent headcount. Whereas, of course, if you're contractors, they're working remotely anyway. Normally, they're used to that. They're autonomous. You give them a clear set of objectives, and off they go and deliver.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of the internal operations of the recruitment companies you've worked with, so the way they've managed furlough, the way they've managed their staff, how would you describe the good, bad, ugly that you've seen from that process?
Well, it's difficult to know. You make a call on what you're seeing your revenues doing, and if they're falling hard or your pipeline's looking thin, then clearly you have to make some hard decisions. So no one will know whether they've got the answers right until we come out of this. So I don't think anyone's done it badly. Some people have done it slightly later, but that's because their pipelines are stronger. And if they've held up, that's the right decision. So I think we'll know in the next few months.
I think the furlough management, though, I've been told, there's been a lot of businesses out there that have basically they've gone on furlough and they've disappeared. Like they're not speaking to them, they're not communicating to them. They're kind of just expecting that these people are going to come back, or are they expecting they're not going to come back and they're just doing them a favor by using the government's money to stop them being out on a whim? Do you know what I mean? It's like the management of the people internally, I think, is so important right now. Have you seen anything in that across your portfolio?
Well, my particular portfolio, that was something that was signaled very early on, that some people will be very good and very capable of remote working. Others will definitely have a challenge, whether it's health, or whether it's childcare, whether they're with flatmates who are not used to working together. So you've got to make sure that just the practicalities, you engage them early on so they're organised, and then it's ongoing. At some stage during the last few months, I'm sure everyone's thought, I've had enough, but it's keeping them engaged early in the week, regular communications, the fun, the detail, the accountability, but also the follow-up. It has to be consistent. 100%. And you've got to try and recreate what you can. And actually, there's some good stories about people recreating some of the office issues. And most of the companies I talk to have been very happy with what they've achieved.
Do you think it's changed a lot of people's mindsets around how they manage teams in the future and the trust they might have for people that aren't in their direct line of sight?
It's a paradigm shift, actually. I just had a Zoom conference earlier today where the owners were going, God, we never want to let people work from home. We always thought they'd just sit around in the garden doing nothing. But they actually were saying we've had better productivity and our senior guys are more engaged and working harder. So, David, what should we be doing going forward? What should we do about property and offices? Because, maybe we do have 30, 40, 50% of our workforce working from home. And actually, a lot of them were saying that actually not having the commute, the time and stress of commute has changed their work-life balance forever.
Well, I mean, I would say I feel the healthiest I've ever felt. like personally, like, forget what's going on in the world. I don't want to sound too smug or anything like that, because I'm well aware. But just looking directly internally at myself, the hours I have now before I go to work, and then by going to work, I come into this room, which is my bedroom, and my wife's in the living room jumping around on doing personal training on video. But the hours I have before are incredible. Like, they're my time, like, and even when I walk outside, I live opposite an underground station, so usually the rush, you feel stressed looking out the window because people are just running the tube, and it's empty. I had to go to London Bridge. I had to go to the hospital this morning, which thankfully it looks like I'm all right, health wise. But I went to St Thomas Hospital in London Bridge. First time I've been on a tube in 10, 11 weeks since the 11th of March or something, and it was eerie. It was quiet. There was literally 2 people on the train, and I got to Stratford, because I go through Stratford thinking that's where they'll all pile on, what you see on BBC News or whatever. No one, and that was at 8:15 this morning. There's no one at Stratford at all. So I walked around Bank, London Bridge. It was actually a glorious day, but I don't miss that at all. The jumping on the train. How do you think the market will shift in that respect? Like, because obviously you're from an era where it was very fixed in the office, and growing juniors is a really obvious and proven successful way to grow a recruitment business. What do you think is going to happen now? What's the future look like in terms of still growing and achieving those scalable numbers to exit or whatever, but in a future world that's totally different?
It's terrific. It's a real tricky dilemma, because I think most of the furloughing volume have come from those businesses that have gone through investment phase, and they've got a big raft of inexperienced people they're bringing up with an expectation that they'll be productive in 2-3 years' time and be the superstars of the future. And they're the ones who have had to let go lots and lots of people. I think probably the smaller niche firms will fare better. I think that their market focus and their size will enable them to continue trading and offer this flexibility without having a cultural issue with the firm. I mean, I've spoken to a very interesting business where the owner had actually not renewed his lease in December, and he'd actually said, I want you all to work from home. And what we're going to do is we'll meet on Monday in X place. We'll have a virtual pub on Thursday, or an actual, for those who can't attend, and we'll all have a wrap up on the Friday. And he's saying it's brilliant because all the technology allows me greater visibility of what people are doing on a daily basis. And he was saying the generation now so used to working with technology that he's got more control than he traditionally had working for a bigger business, where he said, I have to have everyone in front of me, otherwise they're doing something I don't like. So, I think there'll be a paradigm shift.
So how do those businesses that are in that mid tier, the ones that are, they're not Hayes and Randstads of the world, but they're 100 to 300 employees. How do they survive this?
Listen, if you're a good business with good leadership and a good brand and you're providing quality services to your candidates and clients, you'll be successful. Unless that market completely disappears, you'll come back stronger. The question is, do owners now have appetite to go and reignite that fuse, and go and hire back and make that investment? Or do they go, well, actually, I thought we were going to be a 300 people business. Maybe I'm happy at 150, or maybe I'm happy at 100. So I think some owners, depending on where they are in their own personal life, will either go, I don't want this to be a 10-year drag. I want it to be a 5. Or the road is different, and choose a different path. And I'm hearing all sorts of different noises around. Do you know what? I'm just going to keep this small. I have a smaller number of people. It's easier for me to manage. My work-life balance will be different because I've enjoyed this. Not enjoyed the effect of furlough, but I've enjoyed actually the new code. So I think it'll be different horses for courses.
A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our second sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. The most innovative solution on the market, Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process. So from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show. Is there an opportunity out there though for a couple of agencies that are prepared to go aggressively as they were, like, and say we're going to swallow up people and try and grow a huge business because everyone else is staying lean? There'll be more talent, there'll be more access, less competition.
I think definitely there'll be opportunities for talent. People have gone through this process and gone, the owners, the management team have treated me fairly, and I'm going to remain loyal. There will be other firms where that feeling won't be reciprocated, and therefore I think there will be a growing number of experienced people going, well, actually, maybe I should look elsewhere. I wasn't quite as happy or don't feel like it was communicated properly. So I think there'll be talent opportunities. And actually, if these individuals have been able to be productive without the need for an expensive central London office, then you can acquire talent anywhere across the world for a relatively lower cost than you would do with a very expensive HQ.
Have you thought about what you would do now if you were at the helm of Harvey Nash again?
Ooh, that's a very difficult question to answer. What would I do? Well, there'll always be the need, especially if you're a dominant brand in a market, there'll always be a need for a good sized business. You'd hope that actually Harvey Nash, particularly being tech focused, the whole of this experience has really pushed companies into digitizing their business, accelerating the plans or starting plans they were thinking about. So all of those tech businesses should be in growth mode over the next 5-10 years. So you can't hire or build a business just on experienced talent. If you're going to have scale, you have to bring in juniors. So they'll look at that. They'd look at that model and say, can I outsource some of that, or do I have to bring that all in house? So if you're building resourcing capability, would I now go, I now need to hire, hundreds of people to push them through the pipe to become consultants? Or do I actually say our consulting side will be smaller and our resourcing support capability will be flexible and outsourced?
Yeah, so to other low-cost regions, etc.
Yeah. So I know people are looking at that at the moment, but that's had mixed results.
Yeah, definitely. I think I interviewed a guy on here a while ago, about late last year, and he outsourced all his delivery to India. He said it was great. So I think depending on the sector and who you choose and how you do it, it could work. What other questions are you getting then, David? What else are owners asking you personally at the moment?
It's more about, what do you do with furloughed staff? When do you bring them back? How do you bring them back? Do you then carry on till October?
What's your usual questions or replies to those questions?
Again, it's business specific. So there's one particular business that actually I thought would be more affected by the downturn, as it's financial services focused, but actually it's not, and therefore he's very confident that his pipeline has remained robust and is still looking robust July onwards. So from his perspective, he's looking to bring people back quicker than most other companies. Other organisations, it's what's your pipeline look like? Keep them on furlough, bring back gradually, but it's all about pipeline.
There's this new July onwards as well. You can choose, can't you, how much you want to use the furlough, so you can bring them back part time. I think that's a value add, because a big part of the furlough is not so much. You might be saving the revenue, but your teams are getting used to doing nothing. Like their skills are getting like rusty, and the longer you don't pick up the phone, the longer you don't engage with the market, the harder it's going to be to get back into it. So even if it's a day a week, it's got to be better than sitting on the bench completely.
Well, my only criticism about the furlough scheme is people should have been allowed to work, because that would have meant that they either kept their market and their skills up to speed. So when the market does turn, you can have a more productive person paying tax. To let them literally sit and not be allowed to do anything, to me, I don't think was the best.
Do you think the reason was just to stop everyone going on furlough then? Because they would have just, if you'd have paid everyone to work, the whole country would have gone on furlough. Why would anyone not have used it? That's kind of I think that's what they were worried about. But I get your point. Yeah, there's a pro and a con to it.
I think the real dilemma now is, how many people do you say, actually, do you know what? I don't think you're coming back. So what level of redundancy? Even if the market does come back, what will that look like in terms of level of demand? So that's a sort of $1 million question. Do you keep them on furlough for the October period, or do you start making redundancies? And that's a tough call for owners.
Yeah, I was speaking
and commercially.
I was speaking to one the other day who said, I think it was before the new kind of staggered scale announcements, but it just October was the date. He said it was more hassle mentally dealing with like the 30 or so people he's got on furlough. And he didn't feel, even though he felt like he was going to be financially supporting them, he also felt like it was the wrong thing to do, to just use the furlough throughout the whole summer. So he said he's going to let 5 or 6 people know in the next month that they're not going to be, like, end of June that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's going to be interesting for the market. It's going to be sad for a lot of people. But at the same time, I don't know, as a business owner, I suppose I've always tried to put myself into the shoes of my clients, and you've got to be focused on coming back. You just got to be focused on still being there. Because otherwise, if the whole business goes under, everyone fails and there's no more jobs in the future, right? What do you have you got any contacts in the really big agencies, in the top tier, and how they've been coping?
Well, I mean, they just got bigger scale problems. There's no difference there. They've got larger headcount to deal with, and the numbers. If everyone's making 30, 20, 40% reductions in headcount on furlough, they've just got bigger numbers to deal with. So, I mean, the share prices probably reflect the severity of their demise, I guess.
Yeah, true.
The issue there is, will they be able to then get in the vast numbers of headcount effectively to regenerate the impetus that they need? That's a critical challenge for them.
I imagine now that if you're a recruitment trainer, you've got to be pivoting your product towards outsourced training, like remote training, right? And how if you can build a business now that's the absolute remote recruitment training arm, because all of these businesses, they're going to have to hire experienced people if they don't have a remote training opportunity or capability. So it's if you're listening, trainers, I'm sure you're already thinking about it, but it just sounds to me like it's a no-brainer. What's your day been like? I remember when we first spoke, you were a bit like me. You said you were back to back. It was just constant. You calls from all your clients, Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. Has it petered off now? Have you got more free time, or is it still
I think, when we initially spoke, a lot of it was how do you react? So there's operational restructuring, financials around that. Then it was follow-up operationally. How do we manage the new world? And now we're sort of in a period of tranquility a little bit, because everyone's feeling better about the release of lockdown, which is giving a bit more freedom. Trading hasn't quite been as badly hit across my client portfolio, although I'm sure there are other sectors that have been badly hit. So I've been, it's been a little bit more relaxed as people are going, well, we've got everything in place. We've got the structure, we've got the financials sorted, got the budget there. Unless there's a big change, then we'll see how it goes. and we'll keep planning and keeping short-term monitoring on cash and top line.
Do you think you can look further? I mean, can you look further than 3 months in your
Not
forecasting?
Really.
There's no point,
Not
is there?
really. No, not really.
No, so I started the Hoxo Academy in May, and it was already planned, but it was I started it as a reaction, like immediate. I pushed it through because it was like, I felt like this time was so important to help brands try and stand out, and individuals within organizations at the top. I was getting hiring managers. I was getting recruitment owners calling me saying, "Sean, I've just made the first BD call in 5 years. Like I'm so out of tune with what's going on." So it's been amazing to see not only how people have transformed already. We're in week 5 of the first program, and they're all sharing on Facebook, and really, they're really going for it. A lot of these owners, you can tell they're like, if I can really, this is an opportunity. If you look at it correctly, if you think, I'm going to invest in offering value to my community now for this next 6 months, I'm going to come out of this in a different space. That I kind of expected. One thing that's really surprised me is the level of support that everyone's showing each other.
Yeah.
Some of them are in the same markets, like, both recruitment owners in, say, construction or banking, and they're sharing each other's ideas and their support.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, it feels like that the way that everyone's clapping for the NHS, the whole country, the industry is coming together, and it's been, I've really enjoyed some parts of what's going on. I've really enjoyed.
I've been definitely pushing collaboration. The best thing we can do is all try and share one idea each, because actually that'll save jobs and save firms. Whilst we're all competitive, no one wants to see a huge amount of unemployment. That's not going to do anyone any good. And if you're a successful business and there's huge unemployment and disparity, that'll only cause you tax or social angst further down the line. So the more collaboration and sharing of ideas, I think it's brilliant way to get started.
Before we wrap up, what are you going to do differently in the future? Like after going through this personally, what's changing in your life moving forward?
Listen, I really enjoy helping entrepreneurs go through difficult times. If it was easy and it's just a one-way ticket to a fortune, then you wouldn't need people like me. But this goes to show you can run a great business, you can have everything in place, great market, but there's always something that'll come along and sink you below the waterline. And you've got to make sure that you either have a plan in place or that you've got people around you that can help you get you through that. So I enjoy that bit. There's been some tough conversations that have had to be had, but now people are going, I understand what we've done, I'm comfortable with what we're doing, and I'm more confident that we're going to get through this. And that's hugely satisfying. I'd love to be, what will give me a great buzz is all the firms that I'm associated with and working with. They're all having a glass of wine or beer or whatever their tipple is at the end of the year, going, we got through this, we're actually a better, fitter business, and we're looking forward to 2021, with real hope and confidence.
I love that phrase, fitter. I really think it's a good way of describing the way we all are as humans right now, hopefully. Although there is a guy who lives down my road, and about 11 o'clock every day I see him walking down the street with cans of beer in his hand, like he's drinking one while he's got a bag of. He's not fitter. He's definitely not fitter, but I definitely feel fitter. But as a business, I think it's like having a health scare. You start to reevaluate everything in your life, and I think all the recruitment businesses I speak to are doing that. And 2021, I put a LinkedIn post up yesterday saying, I genuinely believe this. If you're really smart now and you've got a niche market, you should just be absolutely doubling down on finding remote candidates. Just if your database is coded to say everything it said before, but that candidate is remote or wants remote, and you can. I think it's the way. Even if there's loads of jobs that are still fixed in offices, if you can just focus on really understanding the remote market, 2021 is going to be strong for you.
Recruitment won't go away. Talent, the need and desire and demand for talent will still be here in 5, 10, 15 years.
Of course.
What we have to do is we have to have proper engagement with candidates and proper engagement with clients, because their needs and wants will change and have changed forever now. So if we all revert back to norm, I'm not so sure we'll be doing serving the industry in the best interests. So if we're all evolving and come out with better relationships, stronger relationships, and greater knowledge, then we'll be a stronger, better industry.
100%. Well, look, David, it's been a pleasure. Always love catching up. I'm glad you're looking well, you're feeling well, and the kids are running you ragged. I'm definitely. We've got to get that Harvey Nash story in the diary. Let's wait till things settle a little bit, and then we'll sink our teeth into the long story of what you've been up to in the past.
Look forward to it.
Awesome, mate. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed another episode of the Rag Report. As I always say, please share this with people in your community, because together, collaboration, as David said, is the one way we're gonna be stronger and come through this. I'll be back again tomorrow with more insights. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.